Let's Podcast alongside Mike Maniscalco filling in for Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovia's inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Big thanks to Empire Properties. And, of course, big thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. I feel like we need Copiers Plus to print out a bunch of maps of downtown Raleigh for you so you know which ones are the 2-hour parking and which ones are the 1-hour parking.
I mean, hey, great. Good for you. If you can get over, go get over. That's what I say.
Hey, look, all I know is Joe and I, having been downtown now for a year, we know which blocks are hot. So we play the game. Got to play the game. Speaking of playing the game, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Stanley Cup champion. It is the Florida Panthers. Long live the Southeast Division, Mike.
Oh, yes.
What, 4 out of the last 7 Stanley Cup champions have come from the old Southeast Division.
Yep.
6 of the last 7 Stanley Cups have featured a Southeast Division participant. Why can't the Canes do it again, Mike?
Oh, well, I think that you just kind of found out that the one team from the Southeast who got hot last year and made it to the Stanley Cup final, and the Fighting Paul Maurice's, the Florida Panthers, that they figured it out.
Yeah.
They kind of cracked the code. And I know that I work in hockey and what I do now, that I'm my job title and job description.
Hockey enthusiast, Mike Maniscalco.
That is the hardest trophy to win in pro sports. That one.
I agree.
And so that's why when people will sit there and say, why didn't this happen? So many things can happen, not to win it, but to trip you up. You can get goalie. You can have your special teams dry up. You can have an injury. You can have players who, in fact, a couple of people were texting me. They're like, is Leon Draisaitl hurt? And I'm like, well, it's not like the Edmonton Oilers are texting me and letting me know who's injured in the postseason. But I just respond with my normal, well, I don't know, but this is usually the time of year where Tuesday we find out that he had his leg amputated in Game 4, and he played the rest of the series.
What was it with Seth Jarvis this year? What was he dealing with?
Take your pick.
Right, he was dealing with all sorts of stuff that we found out after the fact. That's classic hockey. But so is the goalie thing too, the hot goalie. Let's say, how did Edmonton get back into this series and force a Game 7? Well, the Bobrovsky, who was in the first 3 games, was an exact. Now, look, this might be a little hateration, but I thought he was a little lucky last night.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the third period with how much chaos was happening in front of him. I thought it was a little bit lucky, but again, that's what goes into winning a Stanley Cup. I know Joe mentioned this last week, that if you're a Hurricanes fan, you were probably hate watching the Stanley Cup finals for a variety of reasons. Sure. I know it's something that Luke likes to point out. You're looking at the Florida Panthers, you're looking at what the Canes are. They actually got it done. Yeah.
I mean, fair. I think that's a fair assessment if you want to break it down. And it's not overly simplified, but you then look at the differences. You know, the Canes are better 1 through 6 defensively than what the Panthers are. But Sergei Bobrovsky has shown that he can steal a series where that's where, and
Canes don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I know. And as the goaltending situation plays into it. But again, what Florida did, and this is why everybody will sit there and go, oh, the power play. They had 1 power play goal in that entire series. And Edmonton's pretty damn good. They have, in my mind, if it's not 1 in 2, it's 1 in 3, the best players in the world, if you're ranking them in McDavid and Draisaitl. And then what happened in Game 7? Florida said, well, we're not going to let these guys beat us and anybody else go beat us.
That first goal was huge. That first goal was huge.
Well, because they had lost 3 in a row.
Yeah. If Edmonton scores first.
Oh, I think that it's a different result for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but we see this all the time. You gotta at least get that confidence in of, all right, this is not going to happen again. Because if Edmonton scores first, I mean, the Panthers are probably, that building's probably dead. The Panthers are probably thinking, shit, here we go again. All that kind of stuff.
The one thing for me watching that entire series and look, it's not easy. Like you've got coaches who just spend hours looking at where can we go here? What can we do differently here? Can we exploit this here? How Florida never found a way to bottle up the Oilers and the odd man rushes they had. It was unreal watching it. And then speaking of cracking the code, the Oilers are like, well, if we try to shoot low, ain't going to happen. But if we shoot high, and then things, all of a sudden Sergei Bobrovsky looks human. And then you run down these lines where Skinner gets hot. And this is a guy who's not supposed to do anything in goal. That was the Achilles heel for the Oilers. Well, he was good in 3 games. He was good when they were faced with elimination. He was actually pretty good last night in what they asked him to do.
It was funny.
And his name is Stewart.
What was the stat? There's the first Evan.
First Evan Rodriguez, yes.
Well, here's where the ethnicity comes out of me. Is there a Rodriguez on the cup that I wasn't aware of?
That might be the first as well.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, next time Hispanic Heritage Month gets half of one month and another half the other month, I'd like to know about Evan Rodriguez.
That's right up there. My buddy got really mad at an NHL commercial one time for the cup. Yeah. When Ray Bourque finally won it, and he's like, "Oh, the guy had to finally learn how to spell Bourque on the Stanley Cup." He's like, "Phil Bourque won it with Pittsburgh."
Jeez.
See, we can't have nice things.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the Ray Bourque aspect of this, because when you get a Stanley Cup final, right, any sort of championship level event that doesn't feature a team from your area.
Is this where the hate watch comes in, or this is a love fest? I would say
it's not a hate watch to me. Like, Kelly was giving me shit last night. She's like, Florida man's coming out of you. I'm like, because she wanted Edmonton to win. She's like, it's a Canadian team. I kind of fell in love with Edmonton Oilers fans back in 2006. Because back in the peak blog era, the Edmonton bloggers were off the charts hilarious. So I got that particular angle. But for me, it was twofold. One, Paul Maurice. Like, you talk about a guy who had any opportunity to say, F this. Mm-hmm. Nearly 30 years in the business, man. Guy's seen it all. He has seen it all. And for him to finally put his name on the cup, and you saw it all come out. I mean, shout out to ABC for not getting to the dump button quick enough, but in classic Paul Maurice F-bomb fashion, he's doing his thing. And I wanted to see that. That's
the only way that it had to have been hoisted for him. But I loved the moment where he was holding it and talking to it before he hoisted it.
Yes.
And said, I had some not so nice things to say. Because it took a while to get this thing.
It took a while to get to this damn thing. And you could tell his players were also feeling that too.
Sure.
Then the other aspect too, if you're here, you're typically a fan of another team.
Sure.
Before you really got into the Carolina Hurricanes. And for me, my first real experience with Hockey Live was the Florida Panthers.
30 years, baby.
Damn right. And of course, you had that Stanley Cup run in 96 with the Rats and all that stuff. So it was funny to see the Rats being thrown on the ice and everything else. So yeah, there's a little bit of a sentimentality of, hey, good for the Panthers for finally getting through. My cousin Angela sent me this. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't have time to put it up on the screen, but nobody loves to front run like a South Florida fan. Okay, just trust me on this. Okay, but in defense of my cousin, she started getting into the Panthers when they got good and they made these runs and they had the games against the Carolina Hurricanes. And she sent me it's a cafetera version of the Stanley Cup. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can see the image that she sent me. I'm like, yeah.
It's got to have Bustelo in it, correct?
Yes. That little Café Pilon.
A little Café con leche afterwards.
See, I want to see that now. Who's going to be the guy on
Evan
the
Rodriguez,
team? Evan Rodriguez, more than likely going to be the one.
Although he did say he's going to put his 10-month-old daughter in the Stanley Cup. And then he said, I don't know if this is heritage or not, but he said a margarita.
So here's the thing.
And good for him. And this is what, these are the stories that I love. And for me, if I could just give me an aside, to see Stevie Lawrence place the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
You will not find a nicer human being in somebody who, when you talk about this guy hasn't had a bad day.
Yeah.
Stevie hasn't had a bad day. He is everything that he has done to get to this point, to appreciate this journey. And now his name is going to be on the Stanley Cup because he played in the final. But here's a guy who didn't get drafted his first year of being eligible. So he gets skipped by everybody. Then the next year he gets drafted by the Canes on basically a flyer.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you do all this, maybe there's a chance. Goes to the ECHL, doesn't bitch, plays hard.
Yeah.
Coaches love him. Wins a championship there. Makes it to the AHL roster. Goes and wins a championship there. Coaches, the organization loves him. Role opens up for him with the team here. And he goes and he makes the most of it. And he gets playoff time. Now he's an NHL player, and now he's going to be a legend forever because that name is going to be on the Stanley Cup. I think it takes 60 years for a band to, for the band when it's put on to come up. Yeah. So, and those are the stories. Kyle Oposo, who'd been to hell and back, and literally because he was playing for Buffalo in those eras, but he thought his career was over. He wins the cup. I'm happy for Paul Maurice, Paul Krapelka. The assistant general manager. I put it out last night. There are plenty of people on both sides to be happy for if they won the cup. Only one team's going to win it, but pretty happy for the guys who are going to get their name on
So you can relate. We're going to get into some radio scars here.
Let's go.
Without Giglio here, he always likes to point out, like, you can take the man out of radio, but you can't take the radio out of the man. And
well,
there
actually, radio takes the man out of radio.
Yeah, there's an
yeah.
element of that. But there were some things last night that I was like, oh, damn it, I'm so happy Mike's going to be hanging out with me tomorrow because, God, there are some really shitty sports talk radio topics. But let's take a hockey. We got to take a hockey break.
Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
So we've been doing this entire time. Big shouts to Happy and Hale. Coming back from my Florida trip where I ate rich food on rich food on rich food.
Oh, yes.
It is time for a detox. I need that clean eating. The smoothies go hard. The roughage is great. But again, I'm sitting here making it sound like, that sounds like super healthy. No, it's delicious. That's the point. It is healthy, but it's also delicious. And that's what Happy and Hale can do for you. Download the app. They got all sorts of perks and goodies on there. Check out their North Hills location, one out in Six Forks, and of course, out in Durham.
Keeping it hockey, the Burnsley Bowl was ridiculously
Burnsley
great.
Bowl was good.
Great.
It was the
filet,
the Brussels that actually low key got me.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay, with the slaw and all that stuff.
Little bacon braised Brussels.
That was good.
See,
I enjoyed that. All right, you ready for radio mode?
Let's go.
Because again, when you got Game 7 in the Stanley Cup, you have to start going through the motions of the two best words in all of sports. Game 7. So before the game, I knew what the conversation was going to be if the Florida Panthers lost. Is this the greatest choke in history? Whereas I was looking at it from the perspective of the NHL is constantly looking for the story. The NHL is constantly looking for ways to get people hooked on it. And I'm thinking, like, no, the story wouldn't be the Florida Panthers choking.
No.
It's the fact that Connor McDavid was rewriting the postseason record book on the way to one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. That's what the NHL needs, man. This guy that people point to as, you got to watch this guy doing the damn thing, which gets us to sports talk radio topic.
Oh, good. Because I've got a couple, because this actually reminded me of there's a certain national sports talk show host who would sit there and complain that it's just, it's the same two teams all the time. Yeah, you want something different.
Does it remind you a lot of Apple?
Yeah, you know, but it's not. But it does. You know,
company?
it's like moon pies. Everybody loved them, but where are they now? And it was, you literally had two cities for America.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Canada, because everybody in Canada watches the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
But it was how are you going to make this series interesting for the United States hockey viewer?
Mm-hmm.
And Connor McDavid and company did that, because I'm like, that game 4 probably was en route to the lowest ratings you are going to see in a finals, because you're thinking it's a fait accompli.
Of course.
And now all of a sudden, this back-to-back 4-point games, and you find out why they call him McJesus and how good he is. And then, are we going to see this? Is this going to happen? Are we going to see this comeback? Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the Canada thing. On Saturday night, we were in Epcot, and we had dinner in Canada. We went to La Cellier, the steakhouse, which honestly, I can never have poutine anywhere else ever again, unless I go to Canada, because the poutine was off the charts. But, you know, if you know anything about Epcot,
no, I don't.
The people who work in the pavilions, the country pavilions, are from that country. So you go to Germany, well, you got German exchange students that are there serving you up beer, things like that. So Jacob, he's got long hair. One of the waiters came through, and they're like, "You play hockey?" And Jacob's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Your hair gives it away, the flow." I was like, "Oh man, we really are like in a Canadian spot, right?" And it's like little signifiers, right? Yeah. He's wearing his Junior Canes shorts because, you know, it's hot days, trying to be comfortable. And then another waiter came through. He's like, "Junior Canes, huh? Did you play for him last year?" It was like straight up. Yeah. So of course we're like, "So y'all watching the game back in the kitchen? Like, what's going on?" Because again, that was game 6 on Saturday night. He's like, depending on how the night goes, we might have a sad place, or we might have, like, this other one's like, I'm not from Edmonton, but it'd be nice if Canada actually won this thing.
Sure.
But the radio topic is,
there's a couple though.
The big one. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe last night.
Oh, I had a feeling this was coming.
And people are losing their shit over this, because there's this bizarre notion that, well, how can you be the most valuable player on the team that lost it? And I think to myself, how can you just think critically for a second? The whole reason why they were in Game 7 in the first place, the whole reason why they were literally 1 goal difference from winning the whole thing was because of that dude. And if there was ever a time to award the most valuable player award to somebody on a losing team, this is the first time where it's justifiable that I can think of since it's been almost 10 years since the 2015 NBA Finals with LeBron James. When they lost to the Golden State Warriors, they were up in that series, and LeBron James put up 35.8 points, 13.3 rebounds, 8.8 assists, and he shot 40% from the field. He was the reason why they even had a chance to win. So you cannot separate the entire run of this Stanley Cup for the Edmonton Oilers and why there was a Game 7 in the first place. As you said, this looked like it was going to be a wrap. It wasn't because that dude rewrote the record book on the way. He was about 4 points shy of Gretzky. Right? For the record?
Oh, for the record, but he did something that we'd never seen. And remember,
was it 8 points in 2 games?
Yes. The Conn Smythe is the entirety of the playoffs.
Yes.
It's not just the final. It's not the last round. And then you can get into these points of, all right, well, and you could make a case, and here's where things get diluted.
Okay.
When you talk about voting for MVPs and when you have a good team or the team that wins it, now you start going, well, I really think that Gus Forsling should get it. Or wait, what about Brandon Montour?
Mm-hmm.
He was great. Well, then you got to think here about, Matthew Tkachuk and what he's been able to do. But, then Barkov was in charge of trying to shut down McDavid in the games when McDavid didn't play. And then, you got the goalie who we all know the only reason why the Panthers are here. So they start taking away.
Yeah, but the same goalie is the one why there was a Game 7 in the first place.
McDavid did something that we have basically never seen in these playoffs.
Yeah.
And how he took over and 34 points in the assists, more assists than Gretzky had in a playoff run. Not points, but assists.
Assists, yeah.
And you just run down the list. And look, folks, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody for the Florida Panthers is going to be pissed off that a Conn Smythe trophy is in Edmonton.
It's like, okay, cool. Like Connor McDavid gets a little name tag now on the Conn Smythe.
Yeah,
but we're going to have our name on that.
What I thought was going to be the hot topic was he didn't come out to pick up the trophy.
Oh, that shows his competitiveness.
See, that's what I was going to say.
That wasn't good enough.
But we can go both sides. That's classless. You're supposed to come out and represent the game. I had that. I had people send me that. And I'm like, if you just lose in heartbreaking fashion,
you ain't coming out, man.
I remember the last player I vividly remember was Jean-Sebastien Giguère when Anaheim went on a run and lost to New Jersey, and he won the Conn Smythe, and they made him sit out there for 5 minutes, and the guy's losing his mind and crying his eyes out. And you're like, look, Connor McDavid wanted to be with his people. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be in that. He's the captain of the Oilers. He didn't want to go out and grab a trophy for something that didn't complete the job.
No, I don't blame him.
What I do have for the sports radio topic for this one, for the Scars, is they need to overhaul the voting for this thing. Because you have to cast your vote.
Yeah,
with 10 minutes left.
Yeah, they do that. They do that at all these events. It's like, we would like you to predict what's going to happen in the last 10 to 15 minutes of this game. Please, thank you.
Yeah.
And
that to me that's because what if it is that close?
Make it a Twitter poll. No, Facebook poll. Because those are always great.
Housekeeping.
Keeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online, ENOVANA.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
I'm realizing that I need to do a housekeeping note to myself that Mike Maniscalco's mic level is different than Joe Giglio's mic level. Joe has a particular cadence and level to him that's a little bit more NPR. You and I are shouty.
Yeah, well, we go back to our radio days. If you want me to do the delicious dish for you, I can get there.
Oh, I know you're capable of doing delicious dish for sure.
The thing for me about the Stanley Cup final that truly was off-putting for the majority of the fan base is we'll get into that after this break.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a tease.
Yeah, that's another radio one. Coming up in 5 minutes, we're going to talk to you about what's coming up in 5 minutes.
I thought coming up in 5 minutes was 5 o'clock. Now
that's next.
That's coming up next. Okay, my bad. Big thanks to Breeze Through for sponsoring the podcast festival. That's coming up August 24th. That is a week 0. We are going to have Shutdown Fullcast in the house. It's going to be a lot of fun. Michael Felder is going to bring his Felderness.
Oh, goodness.
With Hand in the Dirt. Lauren Brownlow hung out with Felder over the weekend. She's like, I don't think Raleigh's ready for the podcast festival in Felder. Probably not. Probably not.
I don't know what cities are ready for Felder. If he's peak Felder.
It's going to be peak Felder.
Okay.
It's going to be peak Felder. I'm excited about this. Go get your tickets. Go to the Rialto's website through eTix. 3 podcasts, Shutdown Fullcast, Hand in the Dirt, ours. We're going to have a lot of fun, access to exclusive merch. Home Field is bringing a hoodie that you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it on the website. You got to get it at the podcast festival. We will have, I'd legally have to refer to as access to hats. Access to OG hats, which we're very excited about. So again, big thanks to Breeze Through for sponsoring the podcast festival. Also, big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online, wh.lawyer. If Mike Maniscalco has any issues leaving downtown Raleigh today, like Gilio has had in the past, he can contact Whitaker and Hamer to get him out of it.
I'm sure I will.
Attorneys and counselors at law. Big thanks to Hometown Realty as well. Check them out, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. Despite the fact that a large tech company is delaying things, that hasn't stopped. That has not stopped the housing market from being incredibly hot in the triangle.
That's okay. There's another tech company that is moving triangle-ish.
That's true. That's true too. A lot of new construction. You want to buy and sell with confidence? That's where Hometown Realty comes into play. So again, check them out online, myhtr.com. I felt like I fell down on my radio tease because I was going to say before the break, I'll tell you who the Carolina Hurricanes need this offseason to get to the Stanley Cup.
Yes, please.
I'm going to tell you who they need to get to the Stanley Cup. Do you know who it is? Do you know where I'm going with this?
Oh, there's lots of play. There's three obvious ones for
they
me to
need
get
Corey
to.
Perry, Mike.
Yeah,
they need Corey Perry.
I thought you were going to go with either A and B or Connor McDavid.
And go trade for him.
and then a goalie.
No, they need Corey Perry because he will at least get you to the Stanley Cup Finals. Is
that good enough?
But hey, you know what? Rod Brindamore hasn't been in the finals yet as a coach.
All right.
So you get Corey Perry, who has been part of the losing Stanley Cup team 4 out of the last 5 years on 4 different teams.
That's amazing.
So got to go for the 5th, Corey. Come to Carolina.
Come
to Raleigh.
Let's be honest. He was not supposed to be in Edmonton this year. He was supposed to be in Chicago.
That's true. Just gonna
I'm going to let that lie. You can do your own research, like Aaron Rodgers and company.
Fair point. It is a Tuesday. We'll probably get some new Aaron Rodgers merch and things to talk about later today. No, okay. All jokes aside.
Yes.
Monday is the start of free agency in the
July
NHL.
1st. Yep.
And the Canes, as we've talked about the last time we chatted, which was after losing to the Rangers in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we kind of called, man, there's a core group, but a lot of that ancillary stuff is going to change over in a big way from just going in a different direction to you can't pay everybody.
No.
And I think fans, after we've gotten far enough away from that loss to what's going to happen on July 1 and how Eric Tulsky is going to go about this with Tom Dundon, I think people have finally started to accept, we're going to have to let some of these guys go. Now, it's not to say that the Canes haven't worked out some nice deals. I mean, you see what happened with Jalen Chatfield. That's great for the Carolina Hurricanes. But my question is, who are we likely not to see in a Canes uniform next season?
See, this is the tough thing for me. And it has nothing to do with the job.
Sure.
And I'm serious when I say that. So people, please don't roll your eyes with this. This literally comes down to who's going to go out July 1st and find out that the market isn't there for them, and can they circle back to Carolina?
Sure.
Or who are the people who the second they go, if the Canes allow them this week to make it to July 1st, they gone.
They're going to get paid. Brady Shea would be the one that I think is a guy who is gone because he's going to go to market and realize, I'm getting a lot of money.
And Jake Gensel is the other one who I look at. I know that this organization wants to keep him. All the stories are out there.
They wouldn't have made that deal otherwise.
They have made offers and they have made persuasion. What I try to tell everybody is it's not just a player. Mm-hmm. It's an agent. It's a family. It's the NHLPA. It's other organizations. It's other general managers. There's so many factors that are at play here right now that I can't sit here and tell you this guy for sure is 100%. Because look, Gensel might go out there And the market to go play someplace else, is it worth $1 million more to go and play in another city?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you get the 8th year here in Carolina if the Canes are willing to go 8 years? And look, I'm not sitting in the negotiations with Dr. Tulsky, as I am legally obligated to call Eric doctor.
We have to call him Dr. Tulsky?
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
It's a long story, but yes, I call him doctor.
We're scheduled to talk with Tulsky after the July 4th break when the development camp is in town. But I got to know, because I've not talked to Eric Tulsky. I mean, I know who he is in the fifth, because you know me, I'm not in the building all the time. I'm a casual who shows up occasionally. So we'll make eye contact. Hey, what up? I'm not going to bother the guy. But now he's the GM.
You're going to bother the guy.
He's got to have to put up with me and Joe.
The question is, if you ask me right now, who do I think is good as gone? If it gets to July 1st, let's play that game.
Sure.
I think Brady Shea and Brett Pesce will be signed elsewhere.
Okay.
Because you get a right shot defenseman in Brett Pesce, who's a lockdown defender. You put him in your top 4.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams are clamoring for a guy like that. And he is 30-ish. He's going to be 30. So you put him in a uniform, somebody's going to want him. Brady Shea, with what he's done the last couple of years, has just upped his market value.
Unbelievably, yes.
So you take a look. That's one of the things that I think jumps off of the page to me, those two defensemen. If they get to July 1st, if I'm another team, I'm going to offer them a deal that I don't think Carolina can match.
Sure.
Gensel is the interesting one for me. The other one that's also interesting for me is, what do you do with a guy like Jordan Martinook? Because he's a heart and soul guy. And I think that I can look at this two ways. This could be a very easy deal to get done because he likes it here. He fits here. We know what the fit is. And I think that this year, especially once it turned to January 1st, 2024, he really took his game to a level where he fits in with his team. This is where he fits.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But in an ideal world, I would love to have Martinook get what he's owed for what he's been able to do, and also be able to keep a guy like Steph Nason.
That is where you now find. You have to find balance.
You got to find the balance in that. If you're going to give Jordan Martinook that contract, my guess is that I like Nason because, again, guy who knows his role, grinds, comes in, all that kind of stuff. Yep. But he's probably going to get, especially the season that he had, he's probably going to get a pay raise somewhere else.
The other question is the restricted free agent, who is Marty Necas.
Yeah, all I've ever seen with Necas, again, just the casual, 32 thoughts nugget that comes out there. I think it just kind of comes down to whatever the Canes can maximize in terms of a deal.
Yeah.
And it might be also best for Marty Necas to go somewhere else. Because some of these guys, as much as you'd like to have them,
sure,
sometimes you get to a point where, like, look, man, we tried to maximize you. It didn't work out. Or we view you a particular way that you might not view yourself. Because I know that's been the back and forth and the friction with Necas, or with Marty Necas and the Canes front office and Rod Brittamore. That it might be better for all parties involved to separate.
Well, look, the hardest thing for fan bases is when you look at your players, you want things to be different. You need to get better. If you're not winning the Stanley Cup, we have to do this. We have to do this. Well, that also means you have to part with players that are on this particular roster. And in the case of Marty Necas, the Canes still hold all the cards except for there's arbitration rights for Marty Necas. So if he goes to arbitration, anybody you've ever talked to who's gone through the process tells you it's the worst thing ever. Don't ever do it. Avoid it at all costs.
Avoid it, right.
But if he goes to arbitration, two things happen. He's going to get the deal he wants, and the Canes can walk away from it if they feel it's not, and then he becomes unrestricted, which Carolina doesn't want to do that. Or somebody cheats him, and the Canes say, well, we won't match it to pace, depending on what you're going to pay out or what the pay scale is.
Yeah.
Again, Marty Necas to me is the Canes are going to sit down. Their brain trust is sitting down and going, how do we maximize? And this is where it becomes cold in a business. How do we maximize this? If the best thing for the Carolina Hurricanes is to keep Marty Necas in a Hurricanes uniform, that is what they will do.
Yeah.
But if the best thing for the organization is, well, this is the money he's going to get, we can put that money elsewhere in this team or bring in something else, or we can bring in other assets. That's what we have to do. And this is the hardest part now about pro sports and salary cap era, which you can't keep everybody anymore. You just can't.
You cannot.
And you can do the hometown discount, I guess, to a point for certain players, but a player like Marty Necas who's entering his prime, do you want to give him an 8-year deal? Like these all become the question marks. Does he want to do another bridge deal?
Well, the funny thing about all these situations, what we haven't brought up is what the Carolina Hurricanes are going to do with Freddie Anderson.
He's under contract.
He's under contract, but I can envision a scenario where the Canes are going to package something together and bring somebody else in.
Maybe.
I would love to, now that we've gotten away from it a little further, ask Rod Brindamore again, do you second guess yourself with how you handled the postseason with Freddie Anderson and just give him the go rather than sticking with what had worked up until that point, which was the rotation?
I'm not going to speak for Rod Brindamore because I've learned not to do that.
He speaks for himself.
Yes, he doesn't need that. But
No, he
the
doesn't.
goaltending is always handled with Paul Schoenfelder.
Yeah.
And him.
Yeah.
I get to what you're saying, but let me lay out
this is easy for me to do, by the way.
No. Let me lay out
hindsight being
let me lay out a generic answer to that question for you.
Cam would say.
I'm not saying that this is Rod's answer, but anytime you don't win, you second guess it.
Of course. So, but I think what we ended up finding out in the series loss to the Rangers, there's some questions about Freddie, straight up. And do you, on a team-friendly deal with Peter Kochetkov, give him, hey man, Russian goalies seem to be working out, right? Russian goalies continue to be your foil. So you know what? We have one of them. Maybe we let Peter Kochetkov just kind of grow into that role and they bring somebody else in. But who is that guy?
Or you say, you know what we did all of last season, especially when Freddie came back from the blood clots.
Yeah.
We rotated and we were the best team in hockey.
Yeah.
So we do that again. And then when we get to the playoffs, we will run with that.
I mean, that's another possibility as well.
I mean, again, I have to tell everybody the way that this organization works. They open every door. They turn over every rock. They kick every tire. And the way that they look at it, there is, in my mind, I think that there's a couple of schools of thought now about positions that you need to be willing to pay in pro sports.
Okay.
Right?
Quarterback.
In quarterback, wide receivers.
Yeah.
Offensive tackles. We don't pay running backs anymore,
Although
right?
I would say that wide receivers are about to hit that NFL running back market decline.
They are, but
I think that bubble's going to burst soon.
They've gotten here. This is what we're dealing with now.
Yeah, totally agree with you there.
But I think in the NHL, there are now two school of thoughts when it comes to goaltending. Either you put the right team in front of them and you can win with Aiden Hill and Darcy Kemper.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those guys are NHL netminders. I'm not trying to disparage them, but they're not Andrei Vasilevsky, Sergei Bobrovsky.
Sure.
Right. That and I think that's where when I talk about the school of thought is, do you put $10 million into one player in that position, or do you put $7 million into that position with two players, and then you take that money that you give, the other six that would have to go someplace else up and down your roster. So you've got two teams that have showed that, okay, you can win without having the man.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have two or three teams that are like, it's really good when you got them. Because, all right, go make 26, 27 saves in game 7.
Appreciate you. Thanks. Big thanks to DraftKings. Check them out. Download the app. Use that promo code OG24. You bet $5 as a new customer, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. May I suggest to you, you take one of those bonus bets and put the futures on the Carolina Hurricanes, who are currently plus 1,200 to win the Stanley Cup next year.
I am not allowed to bet on the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I know that.
But if I were to say to wager responsibly,
yes, that is exactly what you do.
That could be responsible.
So yeah, Florida Panthers are plus 900. The Dallas Stars are plus 900. The Oilers are plus 950. The Rangers, the Avalanche, and the Canes are all plus 1,200. So that's your futures for the Stanley Cup. Speaking of which, are you going to Vegas this year?
Don't know. Not this summer. There's been a life. Unfortunately, has happened a lot to me, and there was another thing without getting into.
Yeah. So that's gonna keep you from doing that. So totally understand you on that. I just know that you love Vegas.
I do.
You are one of the people who loves Vegas. I am not one of those people.
My love is not as passionate as it once was.
You've gotten older.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. You can't go as hard as you used to.
That's a big part of it. And then people. I'll just leave it at that.
It's people.
Just
so I
the older I get, the more I enjoy solitude.
That makes a lot of sense. I somehow ended up being the team manager for
This is going to be spectacular.
Jacobs Jr. Canes team this year for the 13U white team.
Obvious booking a schedule.
Dude.
First, we're going to play a couple of friendlies in Cuba.
Well,
then we're going to go to Vegas.
So I am crash course. I've never done this before.
Is there a whole bunch of music festivals where you can line up?
Yeah, right. Who's got the best breweries?
Well, I have a list for you if you know.
Oh, yeah, I might do that. So, look, long story short, Mike and I have been in this situation before in our careers where you do this long enough, and then suddenly you realize, oh, crap, we're the battle-tested, crusty vets now?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, damn it.
And it happens overnight.
Dude, it happens when you don't even realize it. And that happened with me in the team manager situation where I just expected somebody else was going to do it. And then all of a sudden I look around, I'm like, man, no. Am I like the old head now? Oh.
And then it's you get that David Cross look of like,
and I'm like, I'm going to pay it forward. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Interesting opportunity. So last night, and I'm doing this late because, the team kind of came together late, XYZ. Regardless, as I'm looking over potential tournament sites I'm like, okay, we did one in Hershey. The kids loved Hershey because you go up to Hershey Park.
Oh, yeah.
You lost a tournament. No big deal, kids. Let's go get the giant Reese's cup that you can fill yourself. Go on some roller coasters. It's all good. Big fan of going down to Charleston. The facility's nice, and you could just dart down and get some of the best restaurants in the world.
Sure.
Love all that stuff. But I'm looking. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There is one in Vegas that happens to coincide with one of the open dates that we have, like where the kids, it's like one of the like Mondays are off for the kids in school. I'm like, there is a direct flight to Vegas that's relatively cheap. No, we can't do this, right?
Yes, you can.
Can we take the kids to Vegas?
Yes, you can. That's the reason why when you talked about Vegas for me, I'm running around and I'm like, oh, all right, okay.
Well, it's gotten a little bit. Vegas went through like a family-friendly phase that I remember as a kid.
It did.
And now it's kind of gone back, right?
Well, they're trying to swing it back to the Nepo babies who have all of the money.
All of them just go hang out.
And just go hang out and blow your parents' fortune before you officially get it.
I gotcha. But yeah, we can have a team-building event at one of the beach day parties. I mean, I don't see what could go wrong.
I mean, you could take them to Hard Rock gets back up and running by then. What was it called? Oh, I can't remember their weekend pool thing.
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it was called Rehab, to be truthful with you.
It is not my speed. Like it's just Vegas for me was it's a cheap flight to get out to some national parks. Like when we did the Zion, Bryce Canyon, North Rim of the Grand Canyon, direct flight in, drive, you're good to go. You're trying to get out to Death Valley. I don't know why you'd want to get I did it once. I pointed out to the kids, hey, see all that stuff? Next time you watch a Star Wars movie, it happened there. That's Tatooine. That's Tatooine, kids. And that's pretty much that.
Vegas for me was restaurants. I enjoy playing cards.
Yeah.
And you go see a couple of good shows.
Yeah, that's what it would be about. That would clearly be about. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes, DraftKings. You don't have to go to Vegas.
No.
All you got to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code OG24. There's a UFC event coming up, UFC 303, and it could be even bigger for you. All you got to do is jump on the action on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the official sports betting partner of UFC. The light heavyweight title is on the line in the main event, but there are so many matches that you can check out. And if, again, you're new to DraftKings, new customers, $5, $150 in bonus bets. So, again, download the app and use that promo code OG24.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. See terms and responsible gaming resources at dkng.co/MMA.
What did you call that transition music, Mike?
Music. It's the stuff they play in the elevators.
Look, man, all I know is that it's got to be rights free.
I know.
And I think that came from the iMovie library on your Mac. I believe that's what is that called? It's no, I don't have the name of the music. Like there's one that's called Funk.
Like this is
But-
like from the Stax records.
But
so.
funk came from our friend Brian over at Nice Price. There's this one called 3-Point Shot. That's
You
an
never heard
iMovie
you
one.
never heard of music before?
No, I know of
Yeah, I was
music.
gonna say.
Yeah, I
that's-
know of music.
I figured you'd be on that one.
No, so right now we're going through a matter of trying to get rights-free music or music that's done for us.
Yes.
Because I even did like Adobe stock for one of the tracks, and I was getting flagged on YouTube, and I had to put the code in every time. Like, y'all, after doing it the 5th time, I'm like, is there somebody I can contact to just give us the green light on this particular thing? But that's neither here nor there. One thing that you got is a green light to go to roback.com. Use that promo code OG20, save 20% off your order.
Should have wore the shirt.
It's all good, dude. I'm wearing the shorts right now. As I said yesterday, in the swamps of Florida, the Roback moisture wicking shorts that I have on right now were money.
I would have worn the hoodie, but I'm about ready to melt.
Yeah, that would not be good. Although Joe probably would have been wearing a hoodie because that man is like a 16-year-old in high school. He wears shorts and hoodies. That's like his look. So hey, man, you stick to a look.
Hey.
You stick to a look. It is what it is. So go to roback.com, use that promo code OG20. I'm going to drop on by Nature's Relief later today because I need to re-up all my sleep gummies. You want some deeper sleep? You want more restful sleep? They've got stuff like that. And any variety of things. I'm just like a straight CBD guy when it comes to this. You want to mix in a little Delta 9, a little Delta 8 to help you sleep? You can do that. The point is, you go out of state, there's all sorts of different rules. North Carolina is included in those different rules. You don't know what you can and cannot do, but you're interested. That's why you go to Nature's Relief. naturesreliefhempstore.com. That's RELEAF hempstore.com. Also, big thanks to the Butcher's Market. Check them out online, thebutchersmarkets.com. It is prime grill season, or maybe it's lazy. You've been just running around on vacation. You just came back. You don't really feel like cooking, but you made the smart move. You went to the Butcher's Market. You got yourself a frozen prepared meal to stick in the oven to be good to go. Mike.
Or you get the steak tips. They now have the bulgogi, the Korean
Are those
flavor.
back?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
you can make
might be-
tacos with that.
might be a package or 2 or 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Refrigerator / freezer right now.
I might have to do that. Thanks for the heads up because I'll be getting those for sure.
Lightning round.
Ready to get through some topics, Mike?
I'm ready to go, Alex.
Lightning round item number 1.
The Carolina Panthers went ahead. Well, I'm sorry, the city of Charlotte. The city of Charlotte, in a 7-3 vote, this is from the Charlotte Observer, agreed to terms of a deal that commits $650 million to update Bank of America Stadium. It sets in motion the largest public expenditure in city history for a single project. In 2037, 2 years before the earliest the teams could leave, Charlotte must also start conversations about building a new stadium according to the terms of the agreement. Now, I don't have some of this stuff in front of me, but again, this was not a unanimous thing. They only needed 6 council members to get this thing through.
The vote was 7-3, I believe.
It was 7-3. It was always viewed as a foregone conclusion. I think for the most part, everybody agrees that this is not about David Tepper. It's about the city of Charlotte
True.
and moving things on. But David Tepper took some strays last night in the city council meeting, including from one city council member that said, hey, look, I get why we got to do this, but what happens when I'm paraphrasing here, what happens when David Tepper gets mad at us? Is he going to throw a drink? I'm like, oh, it's spicy at the city council, but
Is he going to come back in and make the city council take down a sign?
oh man, that would be amazing if they did. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now with the Carolina Panthers and the city of Charlotte, and really the entire state of North Carolina. People understand we don't want to lose an NFL team.
No.
It's good to have an NFL team, but why has it got to be this jerk? Like, is he going to get with the program and stop being that guy? But at this point, I mean, at 66 and you're a billionaire, you ain't going to be told no.
But when you bought the team, nobody thought that. It's, he bought the team away from the other guy who we weren't liking that much.
Which he needed to go too.
Yeah.
But I think what
Look,
we're finding out, Mike, is that guys who've made billions of dollars aren't exactly the nicest people sometimes. So it is what it is.
Look, you don't make billions by being nice every step of the way. You don't.
Or spending your own money for
All right,
that.
so, well, exactly. That's the other part that I was going to get into. Most people I've found who make or have a lot of money aren't usually spending their own.
No.
They find a way to get in and then say, well, if I can get yours and this and that. Look, you don't want to lose a football team ever. You never want to lose a pro sports franchise. Does that stadium need upgrading?
Yes.
Absolutely, because that is like the Lego build generic stadium here, or
It was.
we'll go back to Madden 94,
Dude.
create a stadium. That's what it was.
You know, it's funny. We're old enough now to understand trends in buildings.
Right.
So we're old enough to remember those municipal round, the circular buildings that were multi-purpose.
The multi-purpose.
You could play baseball here, you could play football here, but at the end of the day, it was a dump, right?
Just concrete in a circle.
It's all
where
it
you
was.
could put a bunch of people in there.
I mean, heck, we're talking the old vet. I mean, I can even say the old Fulton County Stadium was in the same boat. They were just kind of circular dumps.
Three Rivers, Riverfront,
all that stuff. That was the element at the time, multi-purpose, round stadiums. Then we got to the 90s stadiums, which is exactly what Bank of America Stadium is. To a certain extent, PNC Arena is in a very similar position of if I told you what did an arena look like in the late 90s? Well, there it is.
It was cutting edge, and you had to have suites.
Got to have all these things.
Suites. Got to have suites, and now, I'll be interested. I mean, you're talking almost $750 million coming out of taxpayer wallets, and this
it's already in the hospitality. To be clear,
it's in the hospitality tax.
That money is earmarked for things like this. The argument is twofold. One, why does the billionaire, the second richest owner in the NFL, need that amount of taxpayer money? Number one. Number two, aren't there other projects that you'd rather have some of that hospital? Because again, PNC Arena was in a very similar situation with the hospitality tax. And I think from Dundon's perspective, what they were looking for in terms of taxpayer money made a hell of a lot more sense to me, because it was all infrastructure based, getting in and out of the stadium, which could be a hell of a lot easier. I think everybody agrees on that.
The only thing for me in the language of this, and again, I didn't being truthful here, I didn't do a deep dive on what's going on in Charlotte with this.
No.
But the fact that by the time you renovate this, it'll probably be 2028 when it's all said and done?
Yeah.
Give or take?
Yeah, 2030.
Okay. And then 4 years later, we have to have a referendum on, we got to build you a new stadium.
Right. Just build the new stadium.
That's my thing.
But as somebody pointed out in the Instagram comments, he's like, the locations that David Tepper will want, the people won't sell because they don't like David Tepper. And I'm like, well, they'll sell to go back to the old $1 million man, Ted DiBiase.
Everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price. It's just that when they're telling you, we don't like you, that just means we are not going to take a cent less than market. In fact, we're going to ask for 20% above market or something like that. That's what they're asking for.
Lightning round item number 2.
Speaking of rich guys, apparently Mike McCarthy is, quote unquote, fed up with Jerry Jones. Okay. What are you going to do about it, Mike?
Well, you can walk away.
It's like, wow, you mean that the meddling owner is going to meddle with the Dallas Cowboys?
That's your meddling team supreme president and executive class general manager.
I got to hand it to the Cowboys, man, because they are nothing if not consistent when it comes to giving us off-season things to talk about. And what are they going to do with Dak Prescott? What are they going to do with these other contracts? Well, what's Mike McCarthy? I mean, essentially, Jerry Jones is going through the tactic of, and he's wrong on one thing. He's going through the tactic of, I'm tired of paying for y'all. I need to win my Super Bowl. Okay, cool. But if you're going to end up paying more for a guy like Dak Prescott, because if I'm Dak Prescott's team, I go, so what's your plan after us? You going to draft a guy?
Yeah.
Do you know if he's actually going to pan out?
You going to go trade for Kirk Cousins?
You going to overpay for him?
It's all right. Atlanta already put the groundwork down there for you.
So Dak's good. Mike McCarthy had to know. If anything, I would say this about Mike McCarthy, buddy. It's actually a shock you're still the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, he's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys because he does listen to what Jerry Jones has to say. You would figure that somebody who is, and by the way, what we're talking about billionaires too, they're smart people.
They are.
What I have never understood about Jerry Jones is how he knows how to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You put football people in position to win, say, what do you need? I'm going to give you what you need, and you go and win. It worked with Jimmy Johnson. It was going to work with Bill Parcells because he had started to turn it around.
Yeah.
But he can't let anybody else get the credit for it. He just can't do it. And then that, to me, he's a smart man. So he knows how to win. And any problem he has, it's got to be in the mirror with him because he will not get out of his own way.
Lightning round item number 3.
JJ Redick is now officially the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers at his press conference. Speaking of content that we needed in the summertime, JJ Redick gave a hell of a press conference. And if this is how it's going to be in the regular season, where he's just saying things like, I'm not even fucking thinking about this. I'm like, oh, buddy, yes. Here's the thing. I don't know if JJ Redick's going to work as the head coach. He's not the first guy to come out of a broadcast booth and into a situation where he's coaching. He's also not the first guy who really doesn't have a lot of experience, but who has a connection with a star athlete work itself out. My only curiosity with this, with JJ Redick is, it's one thing to do a podcast with LeBron James, where you guys are cracking open bottles of wine, you guys are talking X's and O's, and you're just kind of showing to the world how smart y'all are when it comes to basketball. That's easy to do when you're just hanging out in the studio and the stakes aren't real. You're just podcasting, man. It's another one, the X's and O's conversations come through with actual games and what I should or should not do. And the moment LeBron James goes, you know what? I don't really think that's the right thing to do here. I want to do this. How does JJ handle that? How does he handle the egos? I don't know.
Well, one, he's a guy who's been in a locker room, 4 years ago?
Yeah, he's not that far removed.
Look, I'm going to put it in these terms now, and maybe this is a hot take. I don't even know this. In the NBA, I think that you have to have coaches, and managing egos are important.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the way that the NBA has now built itself, that the head coach is as important as we think it used to be. Like when you're talking about Pat Riley and Phil Jackson.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Casey, like when we were coming up, I don't know what the head coach has to do now is he's got to keep the guys who aren't playing happy in their role, and then the guys who are playing happy in their role. And in that situation, because he is tight with the de facto head coach of the team, LeBron James, he'll be fine. And if you're JJ Redick, if this works, great. All of a sudden, you become a basketball savant and you win titles and you're a great coach. And what a great move this was. Also, you're getting away from Stephen A. Smith and Chris Russo. Yeah, I tell you, JJ, I can't make a free throw, but here's why this guy's no good. So you get away from that. And if he is a complete and utter failure,
he just goes back to podcasting, man.
He's going to get that Monty Williams money.
Yeah, he'll do that too.
So,
yeah, he can always, but my thing is he can always fall back on podcasting. One other note about JJ Redick. I saw Nick Wright of Fox Sports 1 throw this out there. And I'm a big fan of Nick Wright. I think he's of all the younger guys who don't take up all the airspace like Stephen A, whatever. I think he's like the next big thing. But anyway, Nick Wright had posed the question, why isn't JJ Redick getting the same treatment that Jeff Saturday got when he was positioned as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, right? No coaching experience, comes out of the booth, XYZ. And there's one clear distinction, and you just referenced it. In the NBA, you're not exactly getting hired for the X's and O's aspect of it. Like, clearly it's a bonus, but really it's to make sure that the star players are happy. It's a star-driven league. Whereas in the NFL, there's so much credit and importance given to the coaching staff that it's about there's a constant debate about the X's and O's versus the Jimmies and the Joes. And there's a contingent of people who are convinced that the brilliant coaches, you don't need the star quarterback. You need the right quarterback for your system. We see this with Shanahan, right? Or Bill Belichick. Well, his defensive prowess and all this other stuff. So Jeff Saturday was always going to get ripped because what exactly did he know? Was he going to? Urban Meyer got roasted when he came to the NFL, and he was making the joke about, man, this is like playing Georgia every week. There's no 1AA team that you get to face. Yeah, man, it's a different thing. That's why NFL coaches get looked at differently than JJ.
Well, and the other thing too with Saturday is one, he was mid-season replacement.
Yeah.
And you're like, just bring up somebody from the staff.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that. And he was best friends with the owner.
That also helps.
And look, now maybe it's a little bit more of the, the same side of the coin, just at the different ends of it here when your new head coach is best friends with the best player. Well, you know what JJ Redick's going to do? He's going to run sets that's going to maximize the most for LeBron James and for anybody else they put in there. Bron Jr. Bronny's going to be there.
That's where it's going to be. And
that's
for later.
That's for something else. But I put all of this, laying this out. The NFL is a way, way, way more different animal to coach than the NBA.
Yes.
More personalities, more coaches you have to deal with. In this case, all Redick has to come in and just be okay. And not, and this is going to sound crazy, not get in the way.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a plan to me.
Last item in the lightning round.
Tennessee won the College World Series 6-5 over Texas A&M. The fun stat here is that the Vols won 60 games this year. That's the first College World Series champion to hit that mark since Wichita State did it back in 1989. Just further proving the point that the College World Series is one of the biggest crapshoots. You talk about professional, to tie it back to the beginning of this conversation, the Stanley Cup might be the most difficult professional sport championship to win. College World Series, man, it's worse than the NCAA tournament. But the intriguing part of the game last night is that apparently the Texas A&M coach is in the running for the Texas coaching job. Texas A&M guy leaving for Texas. You can tell me Dave Dorn's taking the Carolina job after Mac Brown retires?
Well, I mean, let's face it.
Come on now.
This isn't a big deal because A&M went to the SEC and
Oh, wait a minute. They're buddies now.
Look, man, it's why do we make these a thing? It's all money. It's not what you people want to make it out to be anymore. And what do I mean by you people?
You people.
The people who, thank you,
You people.
who cling to this. It's about getting paid. And can I be in a better situation?
Yeah.
I've never understood this. If somebody worked for Microsoft and
Are you going Cowherd again?
no, but
Reminds me a lot of working for Microsoft.
no, we never complain about that. Like this dude went from there to there.
Now he's
All
at
right.
Google.
It's like a stock.
All the radio scars coming out. You know what? You can soothe yourself
no
with
idea.
Two Roosters ice cream. Go to tworoosters.com. They got locations across the triangle, rotating flavors. The coffee bourbon is the one that Giglio was obsessed with before I went on vacation. I'm going to be curious to see what he's obsessed with when he gets back.
They had a bourbon pecan special flavor,
Ooh.
and it was
Okay.
phenomenal.
Nice.
I don't know if it's still there.
You know, we're going to be at Two Roosters on July 18th for Ice Cream Day. We're going to be at the Wake Forest location. So come on out and say hello. It'll be a lot of fun.
I might.
Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. It is gross, folks, and you don't want to make it worse by having a bunch of mosquitoes hanging around in your backyard. So you go to bugsbite.com, bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Get the outside of your house and the inside of your house taken care of. And speaking of taking care of your house, you want to save money on home and auto insurance? You call our guy, Matt Davis, insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or old school, actual human on the telephone, 919-779-8277. You want to have a fun parlor trick at a party? Ask an older person how they hang up the phone. See what they do. And then ask a younger person what they do to hang up the phone. And see your mind break.
Oh, you want to throw a line that will break everybody's mind in the song Vienna by Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Ask somebody under the age of 35. What does it mean to take the phone off the hook and get lost for a while?
Yeah. I don't think they're going to understand any of that.
Well, when will you realize? Please, Joe.
Weird. Going from piano man to a piano outro, which also means
Got some Tove Lo for me?
you all know what that means. We're getting out of here on some Hey Joe questions. It's brought to you by Crank Arm Brewing. We're going to be at Crank Arm in downtown Raleigh on July 28th for our summer jam.
Yep.
It'll be a good time. Butcher's Market's going to be out there cooking up some treats. I think they're going to have a food truck out there. It's just a vibe. We're just hanging out.
Sure.
It's just another way to get our listeners to hang out and everything else. So big thanks to Crank Arm. You can buy the beer at Butcher's Market as well. All right, let's go to what do we got here? Let's go to the Twitters. We got Kelly, Golf Drink Podcast, repeat Monday through Thursday. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's got the Breeze Through Lifetime Refill Tumbler with the OG sticker on it. Love to see that.
Nice.
I like seeing that. Let's see from
I believe this
that's
is what
one of them.
and this is what we're talking about.
From Evan, hey
Van
Joe, is this peak summer sports writer boredom? This is from Bill Barnwell on ESPN. What if the NFL expanded to 100 teams?
Oh my God.
Barnwell picks ideal locations for 68 new franchises.
I love Bill Barnwell, but yeah, that is peak. You needed to write an article.
Well, I think I have an idea. Let's just go ahead and bring back the Skyhawks and have them play at Carter Finley Stadium. If we're having expansion teams, that's all I ask.
I'm in.
That's all I ask. All right. From Chris, making sure you saw this. Okay. Scroll up. This is from January. Okay, from January of last year. Dads in their 30s and 40s challenging their kids to GoldenEye 007 multiplayer when they hear it just dropped on the Xbox Games Pass and Nintendo Switch Online. It's a video. Let's play this.
I could just so see you owning your children in this game.
It's his dad.
Whoa, play.
He's just doing the.
Whoa, play. This is your ass, player.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen
Your
it.
ass, player. You know nothing about this player. Oh, shit! Damn! Whoa! It's been a long time.
I was never good at first person shooters.
You get motion sick from them?
No, I just
The twitch reflexes aren't there?
no, they were there, but it was just like always. I was analytically thinking, and then you realize it's like, no, you just got to
gotta go,
shoot,
man.
just click the trigger as much as possible. By the way, I have a great video game story with my dad, who is, as you know, no longer with us. So I don't know if I've shared this story with you before. I think I did off the air,
maybe
with the Tecmo Super Bowl tournament.
Yes.
So I used to be belligerent playing Tecmo Super Bowl.
Shocker.
I know, unbelievable.
Wow.
And I mean, it was almost like I was a pro wrestler. How do you want me to beat you? You want me to run the ball the whole time? I'll do it.
Have you and Gilio not played each other in Tecmo Bowl?
We have not.
I might just stream that shit.
Let that happen.
Oh, you guys are throwing controllers at each other.
No, you don't throw controllers.
Okay.
But my dad would play, and I would just sit there, and I'm like, I'd take the Chargers with Marion Butts, and that was the Berman thing. Yeah, Marion Butts. So
rumbling, stumbling.
And I just housed him, and he got pissed.
Yeah.
And he goes, never ask me to play this with you ever again. Because I might have been like 14 or 15. I'm like, all right, well, fine, whatever. My dad worked second shift, so he was at home during the day when I was at school. All of a sudden, like 3, 4, maybe even 6 months later, he just turns to me. We're sitting there. It's like a rainy Sunday or something. He goes, "Want to play?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, okay." He knew every play from the alignment, and it was the worst beating I've ever taken in a Tecmo Bowl game.
That's a lesson.
And he then puts the controller down and goes, "I officially retired."
It's the way to go. Hey, look, man, another Disney reference. The kids, they're old enough. They got the twitch reflexes. They play the video games. They know they're better than me at Rust and various other games. But we did this Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin. If you're not familiar with Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin, they put you in a little buggy with little lasers, and you have to hit various targets as you go around. It's a real life video game. And, Caleb's all like, "Oh, yeah, kick your ass." When
you're going down, old man.
And I'm like, guys, do you know how many times I've done this dumb ride? I know all the tricks. Nah, I got you. You're weak, old man. Smoke their asses. Then we did Toy Story Mania in Hollywood Studios. Very similar situation, but it's in 3D, and there's like this. You have to pull a little like pop shoot thing, right?
Okay.
It's like a dangling rope with a ball on it, and it's all this. Okay. And of course, I'm with my brother, who's approaching 30, and the kids are like, "Yeah, we're gonna beat you." And then I think my brother and I both said, "You guys do not have the forearm strength that we have developed over the years, guys."
Just challenge them to the old track and field. If you ever see the cabinet video game,
you think you guys are good at doing this right now? No. You're just getting started. You got to be old like us. You're good to go. Smoke their asses there too. So what video game were you talking about?
The old track and field.
Oh, with the buttons? Oh, dude.
Do you know?
I need the arcade version.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I need the
cabinet,
arcade version.
The stand-up version.
That's the move. I love that game.
Oh, my God.
I love that game so much, man.
I'm pretty sure that I have a torn tendon from that
Probably.
game.
All right. From Bennett on Twitter, I know it's off-season protocols all the way down, but honestly, I thought I could escape the Haktua girl and Taylor Swift being all overseas on the OG, but both things make me feel like I'm going insane. Look, all I'm going to tell you is that the reports of monoculture's death are very premature. Monoculture still exists, and Taylor Swift is exactly that. From Jeff on Threads.
Settle down. I don't want you to get the Dave Grohl hate mail.
I still don't know what that dude was getting at. Interested to hear your opinion about the quality of the new animatronics at Tiana's Splash Mountain. It's technically called Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Mike. Are you familiar with this?
I have never, and nor will I ever go to Disney.
Well, I'll tell you this. I did not have a chance to go on, but my brother did because my sister-in-law is an employee at the Walt Disney World Parks. They had a cast member preview, and they said they did an incredible job with the animatronics.
Outstanding.
I'm looking forward to going back.
I have no problem with the people who go all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my brother's a Disney adult. Yeah. From William, "Hey, Joe, I was just in Orlando and visited Celebration for the first time. When you're an empty nester, would you ever consider moving there so you can be in easy driving distance to Disney World?" I drove. Are you familiar with Celebration, Florida? So Celebration is the Truman Show. You've seen the Truman Show, right? It's this. Disney built this PUD, this planned unit development with all various stuff just outside. PUD, right? Just outside the parks.
Different meaning for 80s kids.
That's a very good point. Anyway, this happened back in 2000. So Kelly said to me, "This is the last trip we are taking to Disney World until we have kids. And I'm not coming back here until we have kids." Fair.
All right.
And I wanted, well, if we're not coming back, I want to go through Celebration just to see what it looks like. And I was like, oh, this would be perfect. I mean, you're living just outside the park. Dude, it was the Truman Show. It's like, I'm pretty sure at that time, I'm pretty sure there's cameras everywhere. I'm sure that there's like some AI construct of Walt Disney making
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Exactly. And it gave me the creeps. Not going to lie. The real bottlers live just outside Fort Wilderness called Golden Oak. Joey Fatone lives there. And Joey Fatone I'm not making this up. Joey Fatone, the former NSYNC superstar, the wacky one, he ends up taking a private bus service to the parks by living in this neighborhood by Disney. That's the true baller.
Well, that explains why he showed up on Man vs. Food Orlando.
That might be it. No, the dream is as a retiree to be a monorail driver. I'm not making that up.
Monorail.
Por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Mike, thanks for hanging out, man. We'll talk to you later.
Happy to be here.